When the TV show The Simpsons premiered in 1989, Homer was meant to represent
the average American.
But hold up. 2 cars, a house, 3 kids, all on a single income? In what world is that average?
Good heavens! This is a palace! How in the world can you afford to live in a house like this, Simpson?
I don't know. Don't ask me how the economy works.
Sure, it's just television, but the economic status of The Simpsons was meant to be relatable. Today it feels just as fantastical as the situations the family gets itself into.
I'm a financial genius. I buy an $8 lobster, fatten it into an $80 lobster, and eat the profits.
So what happened to Homer Simpson's America, where an entire family could get by on the salary of one kind of inept nuclear technician? How did the life of the Simpsons become an unattainable dream? To investigate, we searched across America for the real Homer Simpsons of today. Welcome to The Classroom from More Perfect Union. Homer makes about $25,000 a year. Adjusted to today's dollars, that's a salary of about $50,000 a year. So who is the Homer of today? A single-income, middle-class parent of multiple children in America, right? We found 2.
I'm Benjamin Vigil, live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm a union electrician. I have 2 kids. I make around $50,000 a year right now.
My name is Sarah. I am a nurse and I live in Findlay, Ohio. These are my children, Isaac, who's 22, and Olivia, who's 21. Notice I didn't say how old I was.
I grew up watching The Simpsons. I think a lot of us did.
My dad used to videotape The Simpsons when I was a kid.
They kind of have the whole American dream thing down pat, you know? They've got the house, they've got the 2 cars. Homer works a regular job that he will have until he retires if they ever end the show. Homer's a very average, relatable guy.
It was definitely ingrained in my mind when I was growing up that it was absolutely possible to have a one-income family. You know, dad goes to work, mom stays home and helps the kids. I grew up in a one-income family. 5 of us on a teacher's salary, so it used to be able to be done, and I don't think that it's all that easy nowadays.
Let's take a look at some of the reasons why it's not so easy for someone like Homer to make it these days, like wage stagnation.
When I graduated in 2003, I think I started off making just under $25 an hour. I've since gotten raises and make about $35 an hour now.
But Sarah actually did the math and calculated her raises didn't even keep up with inflation.
I reverse inflated that, and that is equivalent to about $24 an hour in 2003. I'm not even making $25 an hour anymore.
To make the equivalent of what Sarah made when she started, nurses today should make $37 an hour. But
they're still starting at $25 an hour.
Another reason? Housing prices have skyrocketed.
We were living in an apartment that our rent was $1,100, and I was working 60, 70 hours a week, almost regularly, and it wasn't enough to pay rent and buy groceries.
Since The Simpsons premiered, the cost of college has gone up 500%.
My daughter currently is attending the same college that my father actually attended, which costs about $11,000 a year. My dad, I think, graduated with no debt. His tuition was about $800.
But there's another huge factor that turned Homer Simpson into an unattainable standard of American life. And for that, we can again turn to Springfield. Mr. Burns is Springfield's resident billionaire, and also Homer's boss.
You call this postum? You call this a tax return?
It's the real-world Mr. Burnses that killed the Homer Simpson American dream. Since The Simpsons premiered, the 1% have become much richer, while the real-life Homers have become poorer. Homer Simpson had a good unionized job with great benefits.
Lisa needs braces.
Don't worry. We won a dental plan in the strike of '88.
Which of course Mr. Burns was not happy about.
We'll take on that greedy union and we'll get back our dental plan.
So he tried to destroy the union.
Smithers, get me some strike breakers, the kind they had in the 30s.
Mr. Burns may not have gotten his way in that episode, but real-life billionaires have. Since even before The Simpsons premiered, union membership has decreased dramatically, while income inequality has skyrocketed.
Those 40s, 50s, 60s, that was when we had the strongest union membership at any point in history. I mean, those good paying jobs, those great salaries, the two-car garage, the American dream, that was all thanks to union membership, and that was all thanks to the power the unions had. And then towards the 70s and 80s, they kind of became the boogeyman.
The union representing those who man America's air traffic control facilities called a strike. If they do not report for work within 48 hours, they have forfeited their jobs and will be terminated. End of statement.
Welcome, fellow Republicans. To start with the old business, we'll read a report on our efforts to rename everything after Ronald Reagan.
Ultra-rich energy magnates like the Koch brothers, the Mr. Burnses of Wichita, have spent billions of dollars on anti-union legislation. Beyond fighting unions, corporate interests have just generally worked to prioritize profits over people, working hard to keep pay as low as possible and maximize gain for shareholders and executives. Part of this has been the trend of contract outsourcing and offshoring, especially in industries like manufacturing.
Dad, I gotta write a report on the Great Lakes.
Just outsource it to Lisa. Outsourcing is the answer to everything.
Most of the time that jobs are outsourced, it's for cost reduction, aka Burnsian corporate greed. Trade deals and corporate tax policy have basically created a race to the bottom for wages and working conditions in the United States and around the world. So to fix it, we need to be the anti-Mr. Burns. Less power for big business and more power for people like Homer and Lenny and Carl and Comic Book Guy. One way to do that is through taking back union power.
When I was in the restaurant industry, I wasn't a member of a union. When I switched careers, I joined the IBEW. Joining the union has changed my life. I got benefits. I've got people who are fighting for me. When they do contract negotiations, they send a team of people who go and say, hey, this is what the membership wants to see. This is what we're interested in. We're not going to back down from these things. Through the pandemic, these businesses are seeing like record profits. Union memberships are going, hey, we haven't seen a raise in 10 years. That's not cool. A union allowed Homer that kind of, and I don't think they ever expressly say it in the show, but the kind of sentiments there is that, like, you know, despite his difficulties or whatever he does, like, he's still got a job. There's some accidents, and of course they're for comedic sake, but like, he does show up, he does his job, he's protected, he's got that job. And I'd imagine as the years have gone by, whatever inflation occurs in the show, like, they made that kind of trend to make sure that he can still afford those 2 cars and still make his house payment and stuff.
And of course, we're not advocating for pulling a Maggie Simpson. But we need to hold our real-life Mr. Burnses accountable for what they've done to the American middle class.
They are trying to make a bigger paycheck at the end of the day, you know, hitting those salaries and bonuses and things, and that makes it harder for us to play catch-up. The everyday average Joe does not get that same $500,000 bonus for showing up and doing a good job at work. You know, that causes prices to go up and we just can't catch up.
The boomers really benefited from the New Deal, and they were really benefiting from a great economy at the time. I think that there is this idea amongst that generation, including in our Congress, that if you just work hard, you too can have what I have. But I don't think that they're able to see the things that have changed, policy changes that affect us and that keep us from being able to do the things that they did.
This is fed to us kind of our whole lives, the idea of getting out of high school, going to college, and then getting a job, and all that kind of being like guaranteed fact. But you know, as you get closer to that age, you start to kind of realize how expensive stuff really is and how real the world is. And I guess I feel like I have an idea of what the American dream is supposed to be, but I don't think I have ever, nor will I ever, I guess, have a real taste of what that's really like.
I know plenty of people who are taking up their passions, and they will be making $30,000 a year and graduate with over $100,000 in student debt.
Not everyone will get the opportunity to go to space, or host a TV show, or even be an industrial chimney sweep. But it shouldn't be considered as absurd that someone with a good full-time job should be able to pay their bills, own a house, and still have time off for important family activities.
You sunk my Scrabble ship!
This game makes no sense.
And that world might seem far in the past, but it doesn't need to be far in the future.
As far as like the life that The Simpsons portrays, I think it can get there, but I think it's going to take a lot more union participation. I think it's going to take a lot more people kind of standing up for themselves and saying, hey, we're the richest country in the world. Why is it so difficult for us to get a foothold on anything? Why is it so difficult to buy a house? Why is it so difficult to get health care? The way we're being treated, the way these corporations are taking advantage of us, we've had enough. I think that change is going to come from us overall, and I think we're seeing a lot of it right now.
You're right. If we work together, there's no stopping us.
Thank you for joining us in The Classroom, a series by More Perfect Union. We're taking on right-wing propaganda and telling the stories that corporate-backed media ignores, while seeking out solutions for a better future for all Americans. So join us, like and subscribe.